My boys, how we doing, fellas?
Doing great, doing great. How you doing, Preston?
Hey, another good one. We're in round three of the 2023 FHSAA state playoffs. And a lot of good stuff going on, man. A lot of excitement. And I'm just going to jump right into it. Last week, Matt, you were that Durant Sumner rematch.
Mm-hmm.
Two rematches in a row for Sumner. Riverview, they took down Riverview. They lost to Durant. They take down Durant. And now the third one in a row is going to be Plant from
Mm-hmm.
last year. Give me just a quick eval, man, start to finish of the Durant Sumner game from last Friday.
Absolutely. First and foremost, shout out to Durant. They had an incredible season. They actually looked really good out there Friday night. They did start picking up their points later in the game. Um, but Sumner, they just are really good. I mean, you saw tweets, people saying Greg is one of the best quarterbacks that they've ever even seen. And Greg, like I said last week, he was going to that Durant game ready to play, and a lot of big playmakers. They really made it happen. The line really gave him a lot of time to sit back and throw to his guys. But at the same token, it wasn't really that Durant's line wasn't just sitting around and getting blocked. I mean, they were just running, but he is so fast, it's hard to tackle him. And he and his receivers were very smart how they would just cut back and get back into play for him, even if he had to run across the field. So I mean, Greg Smith, he really is him, and I'm excited to see him next week go against Plant.
We can't avoid that question. All right, so you hit it, and I'm glad you brought it up. Greg, one of the best quarterbacks you've ever seen. Derek, you know I got to come to you first. You've got more experience than both me and Matt. So you're on the spot. You're on the spot. You're on the spot, D. Your top 3 or 5 quarterbacks you've ever cut.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah, buddy. And you can't dodge it. Let's go.
well, I mean, quite honestly, at the high school level, I
Yep.
thought Marv was the guy. I mean, I'll bring up a local guy, but I've cut, the Lamar Jacksons at an early age when he was a freshman or sophomore in the spring season, but he wasn't quite there yet. But in terms of throwing the ball, um, Marv's got to be up there. Bridgewater Bridgewater was an excellent quarterback. Down, he was polished. Um, uh, Trying to think, Rakeem Cotto out of Miami Central many years back. I cut
Yep.
Geno Smith
Yep.
stone. Geno Smith was a very good quarterback. I mean, for Florida guys, just in the past little bit, that would be. I'm sure there's a ton that I'm I'm slipping by on. But honestly, I mean, some of the best quarterbacks at the high school level are 5'10", 5'9". They never get sniffs at the next level. So some of the guys, some of the best high school Matt Grothe. I mean, he went to USF, but Matt Grothe at Lake Gibson was an excellent high school quarterback for those early Lake Gibson teams. Um,
Eric, I got an add-on question to that.
yep.
What is there a quarterback that you've cut that maybe reminds you of Greg Smith? What's some similarities that Greg Smith has to some of these great quarterbacks that you've cut?
I mean,
Ability to extend ability to extend
yeah,
plays.
yeah.
Or
I mean,
I'm sorry, who is somebody that you think you can remind them? Because I hung out with Greg and we had a joke, and a lot of guys say he's kind of like a Lamar Jackson. They call him Lamar Jackson in the locker room and stuff, because but you have more experience and you saw a lot of these guys as high school kids. Um, just for fun, is there any guys that you cut that possibly remind you of Greg Smith and the way he's playing right now?
uh, yeah. Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you one of the unique things, and we've hit on this a few times in the episodes. Very rarely do you get guys that are true Power Five at multiple positions, and usually when you do, it's a wide receiver slash cornerback, maybe a linebacker slash running back. Derrick Henry was recruited as a running back and a linebacker. There's a ton of guys out there every year that they're recruited as a wide receiver or a cornerback. Very rarely do you have a legit FBS Power Five arm and then a legit FBS Power 5 wide receiver and a safety. I mean, it's just one of those rare, unique combinations of, I mean, he literally can do all of it at a number of different positions. And there's a lot of guys out there that are Power 5 safeties and maybe an FCS quarterback, or vice versa. They could play, FBS quarterback and maybe a linebacker or a safety at a different level. But it's just a rare combination to be a Power 5 at literally 3 different positions. And so that's kind of what sets him aside. Obviously, Lamar Jackson. It's funny, when I cut film on Lamar and Derek and some of these guys, Michael Penix, I mean, I cut those kids when they first hit the field. And to be honest with you, I didn't even cut Lamar as a senior. I mean, I was like, once they blow up, I kind of forget their name. I'm like, oh, whatever. My job is to find the next Lamar. So it's kind of a weird situation. I never even evaluated Lamar as a senior because I had already cut him before anyone knew about him. And so I don't know. It's hard. Who compares to him? I mean, it's just tough. I mean, he's a big kid. He's got that big arm, and he's just a tremendous athlete. He's kind of a rare breed, and I'm sure I'll think of
one of one. That's a good compliment, though.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's not a lot of those guys out there every year, and trying to think. I'll think of one here over that kind of caught me off guard.
All right, before I jump in there, I got your comparison, Matt, to answer the previous question. Derek, you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Adrian McPherson.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Adrian McPherson had their similar body types. They have they gain straight line speed. So Greg is not tremendously quick. But when he gets out in the open, he's got great straight line speed, and he's going to pull away from the whole defense, the whole secondary. They buy time. They're agile in the pocket. They're tremendous athletes. Like Adrian McPherson was Mr. Basketball, Mr. Football in the same year in the state of Florida. Greg could possibly do the same in multiple sports. I think that's more the Lamar Jackson thing. I get it. But Lamar is super quick and nifty. Like, boom, boom, boom. Like, he can cut on a dime. Greg makes decisive cuts, but he ain't like Lamar. And that's no knock to Greg. I just think he's like Mr. Florida. I think he's more like Adrian McPherson, which, again, he was Mr. Florida, Mr. Basketball, signed with Florida State, and had a good pro career at different places. Now, Luke Knight, these are actually big records. And I tell you, Pasco County is sneaky good with producing high school quarterbacks. They're not going to get the same level of respect as in team play because not a lot of Pasco County teams advance far in the playoffs. But as far as what Luke did this year, almost 4,000 yards passing, you could tell there was a concerted effort to make sure people knew that name. There was a campaign that was started like, yo, we got the best quarterback. We're going to show him off. It's no reason to have a Lamborghini and you keep them in the garage. You keep the Lamborghini in the garage. You got something, you put gas in it, and you got to run that bad boy. So I'm a big Luke fan. I mean, I've said that 1,000 times, and I like that he's going out with a bang. If that plan was in place for Luke to be considered for player of the year, at least in the area, possibly even the state, I don't knock it at all because I think that Luke's one of those kids where you want to kind of put a little light on him. So congratulations to Wiregrass. Obviously, congratulations to Luke, and thank his teammates for making that happen for the season that he had individually. And it couldn't have happened to a better kid, right? Cliche, but Luke's one of those. He's a great kid in a great program with a great coaching staff.
I agree.
No doubt. And
what do you think, Derek?
Luke, he's had a tremendous year. And I mean, Preston had mentioned a name, a throwback name with Adrian McPherson, another kid kind of in that same era that is very similar to Greg. Going back to the previous question was Xavier Lee also. Preston, remember that? And that was like Carlton Hill was another kid up in Jefferson County. There's been some interesting talents. And then the second part of that equation is finding the right fit. And I stress this to parents and coaches and kids all the time. So many kids are just like, they feel automatically that whatever the highest program that offers is automatically where they are going. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Sometimes it's just finding the right fit. And so, the other part of that quarterback equation and all that is just it, whether it comes to the Wiregrass, Luke, or any of these kids, is finding a really good fit in a good situation and a stable coaching staff and all that. There's just so much that goes into it. And quarterback's such a tough position. I mean, look at Manning sitting right now at Texas, and Quinn Ewers is coming back. I mean, what's he going to – there's just so many things that you always have the opportunity to hit the field at every single other position. If you're a running back, you can come in as a backup and get 10 carries. If you're a wide receiver, guess what? You're one of 3 or 4 on the field. If you're an offensive lineman and really good, guess what? You're starting one of the 5 offensive line positions. Quarterback's the one spot out of the starting 22 that you're either the guy or you're on the bench, and it's just a interesting situation. But so it's about finding that perfect fit. So I think that's a whole nother conversation is, okay, Greg Smith, great athlete, great quarterback, great. Where's that perfect situation at in college? Does he want to play quarterback? Does he want to play wide receiver? Does he want to play safety? What's he want to do? And so I think that really is kind of what to pay attention to. It's not automatic, okay, well, the high school here offered me, I'm going to Alabama or Clemson or Georgia. It's not necessarily, that's not the right fit all the time. So it's going to be interesting. So if I'm Greg, I'm maybe looking at the colleges that have a similar style of quarterback, and that might be outgoing and all that, and he can slide in. So it just depends on what position. But anyway, I just wanted to throw another name out there.
I'm tossing out I'm talking about my quick 5 flex. All right. That I've seen in person. All right. We're going Kenny Kelly to go. All right. In the area, it's hard to bypass Kenny Kelly at all. Kenny Kelly, Tampa Cali. He almost like started this whole throwing up crazy number quarterback thing here in Tampa. All right. Then you got to go Robert Marv. When Plant got going in 94, 95, Robert Marv was, not 94, 2004, 2005. Marv kind of lit this whole thing on fire. Plant was a 4-6, 3-7 team. Robert Marv's freshman year. His senior year, I think they went undefeated and won a state championship. They went 3-9 his junior year, 3-7 his freshman year, undefeated state championship. Robert Marv, and like the whole Robert Wiener situation was crazy. Then, hey, guess what? We're graduating Robert Marv. Guess who comes behind him? Then you get Aaron Murray, right? So Marv goes off to Miami. Here comes Murray behind him. Murray does his thing. He throws for 3,000, rushes for 1,000, and he ends up being one of the University of Georgia's greatest players ever. Then you got to go Quentin Williams. Quentin Williams at Jefferson, right? Quentin Williams played at BCU. Jefferson went undefeated when they won the state championship one of those years, 2010. Quentin Williams was fun to watch. And then I think I'm going at my 5th one. Here's a sleeper. Pete DeNovo at Eastlake.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, another one.
Pete DeNovo at Eastlake, when he had the weapons with George Campbell and Artavis Scott around him. The Eastlake team they were hard to beat in Pete DeNovo's days. So that's a quick 5. And nice. I saw Anquan Bolden play in high school too. So we can toss Anquan Bolden when he played quarterback in high school. He was fantastic.
I tell you what, I mean, anyone watching this that wants to see Anquan Bolden throw a football, when Chris Ricks got hurt or in the bowl game and they played against Georgia, Anquan Bolden threw a ball about 65, 70 yards in the air. And I can't remember the wide receiver, but it hit him right at the goal line in the hands and he dropped it. But it was one of the greatest throws I've seen in college. So, yeah, if anyone wants to pull that up and watch that on YouTube, Anquan Bolden had one of the prettiest throws in college I've seen. Preston, who was a quarterback at Robinson quite a few years ago, who had a really 10, 15.
Zane Gilmore Jr. Trigg.
Yeah.
Trigg.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Marcellus Trigg. And then Zane Gilmore Jr. came behind him.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Those some. Oh man, you take it down memory lane. Memory lane.
What about Benny Coney over at Plant City? I mean, just thinking about the kids in
Big
the area.
arm.
But yeah. I mean, honestly, I know I try to focus a lot on Tampa just because of the audience. But Robert Marv, I believe, of all the kids that I've cut probably 30 pro quarterbacks across a few different states. But yeah, Marv, I think, was the best quarterback that I'd cut in 24 years.
So quick Marv story, and we'll move on. Quick Marv story. I'm the DB coach at Hillsborough, my alma mater. I'm DB coach, and we're playing Plant for our homecoming. Okay, and this is their senior year. We're both undefeated, or we're playing well, and they were undefeated at the time. And I still have a good relationship with Urban Meyer, because Urban Meyer at the time was Florida's head coach. He was the wide receiver coach at Notre Dame. He recruited me. All right, so he went out to Bowling Green, then went to Utah for a year, and then got the head job at Florida. So I still got a good relationship with him from my Notre Dame days. Well, Marv rips us. And on my way home, after I called my wife fussing about how bad my DBs played, I hit up Coach Meyer. It's late, like it's 11 o'clock. I just had to leave him a voicemail. So I leave him a voicemail like, Coach, if you don't know about this kid, Robert Marv, you better get on him. He's magnificent. All right. I just had everything good to say about him all in 30, 40 seconds. Marv ends up going to Miami. The rest is history, just depending on who you ask. But Marv was fantastic at the high school age, man, in his high school days. Fantastic, bro.
So I had just graduated high school, and
okay.
I graduated in 03. So 04, 05, I was working at Verizon, and I worked with a guy named Dan. And Dan was so into high school football. He could come on to our podcast and tell us all about this type of stuff. So funny. But so I got to go to Plant Armwood game because I knew that was a big game. And I got to and I think Plant won that year. And I got to see Robert Marr for the first time and really kind of learn about him. And my buddy Dan, he still comes out to the games. He calls me all the time. Hey, you're going to be at the Tech Armwood game? And he's still following, just a cool guy from the local town that follows sports. Never really had kids in sports or anything. So it's just kind of his way to get out on a Friday night and watch some really good football. So Robert Marr, man, shout out to him. He was awesome. I remember seeing him play.
Hey, I'll tell you. Hey, Preston, real quick. I mean, we're telling stories. I think these are, I think this is a pretty interesting one. So, and this would be a good question to pose Coach Weiner about Aaron Murray too, following, the Robert Marr, Aaron Murray. I went over there back in the day, back in the VHS and DVD days. I'd go around to the high schools and pick up film. And I walked into the locker room one day, and it was early, late. It was just Aaron Murray and Coach Weiner in the locker room. And they were at the opposite ends between the stalls throwing the football. And I don't know if it was a drill, but they were like throwing it as far and hard as they can, like with an arc, trying to scrape the ceiling or something. And I sat there and watched them, and I'm like, is this like some of the drills that he does to create? It was just the craziest thing. But they were like by design trying to throw it the length of the locker room with enough arc that it would make the distance but not hit the ceiling. It was the craziest thing. I just sat there and laughed. I'm like, these are the drills that Coach Weiner's got going on over here, developing these quarterbacks. But it was craziest thing. But they sat there for 20 minutes in a competition doing that. It was, anyway, but a little tangent.
Here you go, man. I got one for you.
Yeah.
Most physically intimidating player you've seen in person at the high school age. Like you walked up on him like, bro, this dude is not in high school.
In high school so far, honestly, I feel like I've met a lot of them, and I've met some big guys, but one of the guys that I've met that had the personality to kind of match is Roy Marr, number 5 at Armwood. Man, he just has that aggressiveness. Like if you talk to him even outside of football, he's a beast, man. He's probably one of the most intimidating players that I've kind of ran into. I've ran into a lot of players. I've only been in the football scene probably maybe 3 years now, and I meet a lot of these big gentle giants. You know what I mean? And not saying that he's not, but he definitely has the personality to go with the with the player for sure.
Who you got, D?
Oh, this is a throwback name. Jeff Luck was a linebacker out of Treasure
Oh
Coast.
yes, went to Florida State.
And this kid there were certain guys that when they hit you, they want to hurt you. This kid, he went to Florida State and then transferred to Cincinnati, and he was at the high school level. I mean, he was a beast on defense. I mean, if you would have gave me 3 minutes, I probably could have came up with a one at each position. But Jeff Luck, linebacker, probably would be the one guy. I cut a D tackle. I cut a D tackle out of Sanford Sanford or Oviedo, one of the Seminole County schools. His name was Bud Thacker. He was one of the he was one of the toughest D linemen I think I've ever cut on film. Trying to think offensive linemen. Man, I've cut the best of the best offensive linemen.
I like that Tawfik. What was his name? Tawfik out of Gaither a couple years ago, number 1.
Tawfik?
Yep.
Tawfik.
Yeah.
He had that. He'd look at the crowd and kind of make the crowd go wild and stuff. Like, he had that personality too as a lineman. Big guy there.
That I played against in high school, DJ Williams. DJ Williams was from De La Salle. He was from De La Salle. All right. And I played in the first ever Florida California All-Star game. We fly out to Cali, and I think the first or second night we're having team dinners, and each team is sitting on each side of the room, and somebody gives a presentation, and one of our teammates was being funny towards the end of the team dinner. And at that time we all heard about DJ Williams. He's the number 1 prospect in America. We heard everything about him, and remember, this is pre-social media days, so everything about him, the legend just grows, right? So now one of our guys, I forget who it was, they were like, who's DJ Williams? So DJ Williams stands up from the table and he's rocked up. Like, he looks like a grown man. He's like, I'm DJ Williams. And the whole room just goes quiet. He's like, all right. We see you. And then coaching-wise, it was Orson Charles. And remember, I used to be a DB coach at Hillsboro, and we saw Orson on film. And originally, Orson was at Riverview High School. Shout out to Riverview High School. All right. Yep. And on film, right, playing tight end. So he looked good on film. But when you see him in warm-ups, it's a whole different monster. So now DJ Williams Orson Charles is 6'3", looked like he never had a carb in his life. Shirt rolled up, 6-pack out, just every vein popping out his body. And I'm like, I don't know how my DB is going to stop this dude. So he was a pretty sucker too, man, in high school. All right, well, let's keep moving on. So we got round 3 coming. What are the games that intrigue you? What game you eyeing out?
Mm-hmm. Oh, man. So you got Gaither Jesuits going to be playing. You have a Carrollwood Day CCC. We're gonna get a preview. Last year, you had Sumner Plant, and Plant won. So now we're gonna have another Sumner Plant this year. I'm not gonna make any accusations who I think is gonna win. I think it's gonna be a good game, and I'm actually super excited for that. But I think the game that I'm probably most excited about out of all those is probably Tampa Bay Tech, to see them play Jones. I actually am super proud of Tampa Bay Tech, man. Armwood was a hard team to beat, and the one thing about Tech is they do not mess around in that fourth quarter. They go all the way to the end, and I think I didn't get to see too much film, but it seemed like that last quarter it kind of got away from them. So shout out to Tech, and I love to see them go all the way. Go and beat Jones and take this Tampa team all the way to the state championship this year, man. I'd like to see them get back there. I know they got there a couple years ago against St. Thomas Aquinas. Shout out to Xavier Jackson. What a great quarterback he's been. So what do you think? What games are you excited about?
Real quick about that Tech last 2 minutes of that game was wild, bro. So this is just a coaching point for all the young defensive players. All right, as these kids are learning situational awareness, the more playing time, the more experience they get, they'll get better and they'll understand what's going on. Right. So you got to help. That's the whole point about coaching, right? So got 1,000 teams in my head. Tech goes up 20-16 with about 2 minutes left on the clock. Armwood has no timeouts. All right. Armwood gets their possession. They're deep inside their own territory. Right? Let's just say for around the 20-yard line. They got to go the length of the field. Okay. Tech stops them on first down, stops them on second down. Then Armwood throws an interception on third down, right? The Tech defensive player gets the interception. And if he goes down, Tech gets the ball on offense. They just kneel it out and they kill the clock. Well, it's hard in a rivalry game to get a kid who's super excited about beating his rival to go down to the ground when he's got an opportunity to score, right? So he goes and scores natural. He's excited. He's got an interception. He makes what seems like the play of the game. However, the first thing I think of is, oh, shoot, it's too much time on the clock. It's an 11-point spread now. All Armwood it sounds tough to do, but all Armwood has to do is score twice and they win this game. It's 11-point spread. They score 2 touchdowns. That's 12. That's ball game. Well, they kick off. Tech kicks off. Armwood gets the ball, throws one pass. One pass goes for a touchdown. So now it's a minute 30, minute 40 left. You know what's coming next, right? Onside kick. Well, here goes the onside kick. They kick it. They get the onside kick. So it's like, oh my gosh, they got a chance to win this game, dude. Oh my gosh, they got a chance to win this game.
Wow.
They take the ball down all the way to the 19-yard line. Tech's defense stands up on about 3 to 4 plays. Tech's defense holds, and Tech ultimately wins the game. But you're thinking, hey, this never would have happened if Tech would have just went down and then the offense would have got it and kneeled it out. However, again, this is for everybody who's out there who's yelling and screaming at kids. They are kids. They're learning the game. They're not trying to make quote unquote mistakes or quote unquote plays that you as an adult know. They're learning the game. But that's a learning moment. Just in that situation, knowing Armwood has no time left, no timeouts, go down, give the ball back to your offense, let them kneel it out. But it was bonkers. So you could tell, hey, folks that left the game on the touchdown, on the intercept, on the pick six, you could see folks starting to come back in the gate because they were getting word that the game was still on and Armwood was driving. Man. So it was a bonker. It was a banana finish.
Shout out to the Hawks and Tampa Bay Tech for giving you guys a showdown for sure.
Yo, shout out and big shout out to Armwood on another fantastic season. Rybrush with a great sophomore campaign. He's going to be fantastic. Armwood's going to come back with a vengeance. It's just Hillsborough County football is good when Armwood's good. I'm looking at the Venice versus Sarasota Riverview game. Ooh, we warned folks over and over about Sarasota Riverview that their schedule was deceiving. We warned folks that this is the wrong time to pick on Venice, that they're going to get better and better and better every game. Mm-hmm. That game might be closer than expected. Now, Venice might take this clip and put it in the locker room and blow it up and end up blowing out Sarasota Riverview, right, for locker room content. However, I think that Sarasota is going to compete yet again. Remember, Charles Lester's came from Sarasota, 5-star Charles Lester, Florida State commit. He came from Riverview. This is going to be a very entertaining game. Gaither Jesuit might be closer than expected, right? That was a overtime win by Jesuit the first time around. Mm-hmm. Thoughts from either one of you on that game?
We've talked about it, trying to beat a team twice is always a little tougher, and right now, this far in the playoffs, you have to expect every team is really good that you're going to play against. So as long as Jesuit comes in and plays really hard and Gaither, we're going to start seeing that very similar games to what you saw over at Tech and Armwood, where it just comes down to maybe overtime, couple point spreads. I don't see a blowout. Any different team, it's hard to call which team would win. They're both looking really great this year. I'm actually we talked about Gaither throughout the year about their schedule, being very tough, and they made it through it, and now they're in their third round. They're in the regional finals. So shout out to them to even make it this far. Jesuit, always a strong team. So that'll be a great game as well.
Man, I had to drive to Georgia and film a bunch of youth games this past weekend, so I didn't even. The only thing I did pull up and I saw Tech had won. I was like, man, I don't even know who's playing who. I have not had a chance to even look at a schedule. Been breaking down film all day. So if you want to throw a few at me, I'll give you some thoughts.
I'll throw this both at you.
Yeah.
I'll throw this at you. Can Berkeley Prep's defense slow down the high octane Calvary Christian offense? That's going to be the difference. I mean, and obviously you can vice versa that on either side, but Berkeley Prep has been playing very good defense as of late, and Calvary Christian's offense has been clicking at least since midway through this season. So give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I was going to bring that game up as well. That sounds like a great game. Berkeley Prep, Calvary Christian.
Yeah, I haven't seen much on Calvary yet. And I need to. I would be curious. It's one of the teams I have not seen much on them, so I hate to offer.
I know we've talked this year about Calvary being one of the stronger teams over in Pinellas. Berkeley Prep, I mean, they had a pretty big win. Their offense seems like they're clicking pretty well. It's 40. They beat Tampa Catholic last week, 42-28. Berkeley Prep, it seems like they've been really strolling along these last few weeks and just really getting strong. But, you said Calvary Christian. We put them when we ranked number 2 right under CCC, and we were even still kind of like, hey, so Calvary Christian's looking strong this year too. That's another great game, So we're getting into these regional finals, and it's going to be some showdowns for sure.
Definitely going to be some showdowns, man. All right, I got a question that came in, and this is not playoff related, but I think it's appropriate as we end the show with this. So, how high school football recruiting and college football acceptance of freshmen has changed over the years. The early entry for high school students who have met all the high school graduation requirements, they're able to enroll in college early, right? Mm-hmm. So that's been a trend that's been happening for what? I don't know, maybe 5-10 years, Derek. It started to happen a while ago.
Yeah.
All right. So it's not necessarily a new thing. However, I think that there are still many people out there who want our opinion. Well, many people who have an opinion on kids graduating high school early, bypassing the second half of their senior year to become basically, professional athletes in a sense, in the spring, enrolling in college. So here I'm just throwing that out. Let's just have an open conversation. That's the topic. Let's just talk through it for about 10 minutes.
I actually just learned about it. Kai Stokes, he was the first player that I saw. He went to Ohio State. And when I kind of learned about it, I thought that was one of the best ideas. Like you get out there early, you get to know the team, you start learning the fundamentals. He was fortunate to be able to play in the spring game and dress. And then when the season starts, he's already so advanced. He's ready to rock and roll. And opportunities, they come once in a lifetime. And if you have an opportunity to take this to the next level, I'm going in January if I can.
Yeah, and the like one of the main things about this is I look at it from a little bit of a different perspective. When you're a student athlete competing for scholarships, whether it's FBS, FCS, whatever, you're building your resume. And when a college program looks at 10 players, let's say they got 10 players on their board, and all of them are equal players. Being an early graduate will put you in that top priority position for that college. If everything else is equal, that the ability to enroll early will definitely put you at an advantage because of the spring practice situation and all that. it's like getting a half year of experience, and it's such a valuable situation. So, like, just from that perspective, yes, you want to be able to put yourself in a competitive advantage as a recruit to potentially be an early graduate, so you can get to spring practice. And if a college coach they would even take a slightly lesser kid just as an early enrollee. So, you've got all these variables, and grades dictate so much. It's such an important part of the recruiting puzzle. And when a kid's got a 3.5 and a kid's got a 2.7, I don't care if the 2.7 and 3.5 are equal talents. The 3.5 is the one that's going to get the recruiting love. And I'll be honest with you, even if they like the 2.7 a little bit more than the 3.5, they'll almost recruit the 3.5 just based on that situation. And when you can add to that the additional variable of as being an early graduate, it's just another piece of the puzzle, and you're putting yourself in such a better position to get recruited. From a recruiting perspective, it's definitely a very good situation.
Yeah, we're gonna all agree here, because I think being able to have that advantage to being acclimated to the college lifestyle at a earlier stage has its benefits. I was one of the ones who changed my opinion of it early. At first, I was like, "Yo, these kids are in high school. Let them be high school students." Blase, blase. That was me. And then once you kind of think about it, and you're like, "Yo, screw this. No, this kid is trying to go to college to get on the field. Forget trying to be prom king in the spring. Dude is trying to get on the field as a freshman. That's the objective." And being able to learn the college environment, time management, being on your own, learning how to manage your money, all that good stuff, and being independent, and then getting the college weight room, and all that stuff has its advantage. So I'm on the side of, if you have the opportunity to position yourself to leave early, and remember, again, my day, redshirting was a thing. That was a thing to do, was to redshirt, to get bigger, stronger, faster, learn the playbook. Well, your redshirt year now is your half semester in the spring. So get your butt up to school, redshirt in the spring, learn the system. That's your redshirt months now. It ain't like it used to be. Things have sped up tremendously, and they are not trying to spend 5-6 years worth of dollars on student athletes anymore. They want you out 3 years, bro. This is all we spend on you. Get out of here. So I think we're all going to agree there that it has its advantages. I don't see any disadvantages. You've had 3.5 years of high school. What's going to happen in the spring, unless you're a dual sport athlete playing baseball, track, or something like that? Then it's a different conversation. Otherwise, get out early, go learn how to be a college athlete, lift, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. And just to add, just something to say to some of these student athletes getting out there is, be patient. You might not be able to play your first, your junior year, but stay a part of the program, keep working hard, keep getting strong, learn the playbooks, and you'll get out there. I think a lot of kids, they get discouraged. They've been the superstar from little league through high school, and then all of a sudden they get to college, and they're, everybody at college is really big and strong and good. And so just, trust the process and work hard, and you'll have your opportunity to shine.
We'll get into these recruiting conversations in later episodes as the season ends. And Derek and I will have some great notes, because that's been our space for the last 10 to 20 years. But I will finish with parents and student athletes. As the college season ends, recruiting begins. And like Matt said, don't get discouraged, because stuff is happening for your teammate and not happening for you at the present time. Mm-hmm. Everybody's journey is going to be different. Everybody's attention is going to be different. There are a lot of schools out there. And the recruiting cycle is definitely one of that. It is a cycle, and you have to be patient. Okay. That is the best thing I can say right now, is that everybody's path is going to be different. And just because Greg Smith is a 4-star and he's got offers from all across the country, and your best, offensive tackle has nothing and he blocked for Greg. Okay. And Greg, his journey is going to be different from Greg. There are factors that tell that. So don't be discouraged. Derek, anything to add on to that, man, before we go?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a cookie cut situation. I can give you, I can give you 1,000 different examples just right off the top of my head. I'll give you one example. Sometimes kids rush their film out there. You have one chance to make a first impression, and if you are a sophomore or a junior and you're 2 games in or 3 games into your season, do not feel that University of Georgia needs to see your 2-game highlight of your sophomore season, because if you do not make that impression, you could put yourself in the trash bin on the recruiting. Like, nope, we've looked at this kid. He's not ready yet. So that could be one kid's situation. Then completely different situation. You may be that kid like, yes, okay, you are one of the, the 1% of the 1% crowd that a 2-game highlight of your sophomore year could justify that kind of, rush to get your content out. I see a lot of kids and parents and coaches sometimes even pushing, yeah, this is my 2-game cut, 3-game cut, and they're only, 14, 15-year-old sophomores. They can back off that a little bit and just be patient. You've got one chance to make a first impression, and sometimes these kids blow it. And then, it's crazy. Every kid's situation is so different. And every kid has its own unique story. I just cut an offensive lineman today, 6'6", 300 pounds, out of Spruce Creek High School. This kid just turned 17 years old. We just featured him on Twitter today. And this kid's an FBS kid, and he has 2 lower division offers, and I think that will change this week. But you're talking about a kid that just turned 17, just unbelievable on film. And so it just, every kid's situation is different. But you want to put your best foot forward. You want to make as many positive variables as you can, your GPA, any type of National Honor Society. You're building a resume. Your video is part of that resume. But there's so much other stuff that goes into it. The graduate or, early graduate is just one of those variables. But yeah, every kid's a different situation. It's not a cookie cut by any means. But yeah, if any parents have any questions, reach out to us. We've been providing free help across this area for over 2 decades now. So reach out to us if you have questions.
All right. Good luck to everybody. Round 3.
There. Good luck, guys. See y'all later.